Over the course of the last 2 weeks, tens of thousands of protesters in the United States, the United Kingdom, South Africa, Nigeria, and the Philippines and other parts of the world took to the streets, some engaging in acts of civil disobedience to demand divestment from fossil fuels. Washington, D.C. was the site of one of these demonstrations this past Sunday, where some 1,300 people marched from the White House to the Jefferson Memorial, focusing their message on offshore drilling in the Arctic, Atlantic, and the Gulf of Mexico in particular.
We give the title of climate leadership away too easily. Too many politicians who will be talking about renewable on Monday and fracking on Wednesday. And we give that title away. Too many, Trudeau in Canada will talk about, well, let's talk about solar on Tuesday, but he's an oil baron on Thursday. Too many of our candidates think it's too easy, that we are just so happy that they're not talking about climate denial. Well, those days are long over.
I'm here today because one of my extended family members was one of the 11 people killed when the Deepwater Horizon exploded. So I'm really speaking out to say there should be not one more life lost, not one more catastrophe like the Deepwater Horizon, especially not when there are clean, renewable alternatives available. We need to keep it in the ground and we need to stop offshore drilling now. I began working in particular on the Atlantic, that's my home, after the Deepwater Horizon happened, but I'm extremely hopeful because we really brought together the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Arctic into one movement. We were able to deliver 2 million comments to the White House CEQ administration in opposition to offshore drilling. So this is really a movement moment.
A coalition of environmental groups like 350.org, the Sierra Club, and Greenpeace, among others, recruited residents from those areas affected by the presence of large oil and gas companies to come to the nation's capital and talk not only about the harmful effects of fossil fuels, but about the rising tide of renewable energy and alternative economic models that don't rely on dirty energy.
Alaska is 90% solely based off oil, and it's just the oil state, and they're really pushing for more oil discoveries, for more oil in Alaska, and I don't see how they can react to our $3.5 billion deficit this past year with extracting more oil, seeing that before Alaska was a state, our economy, our state was run by, our territory was run by the state, the income tax of our residents, and that's how we had our infrastructure, and that was last implemented 35 years ago, and I think that Governor of Alaska, Bill Walker, can hopefully see that we can base our economy, base our state off of income tax again, seeing that there's a lot more residents, and I think that's just a more effective infrastructure instead of extracting more oil.
Environmental groups say the pressure's working. Most recently, the Obama administration has limited the number of leases for offshore drilling in the Arctic and banned offshore drilling in the Atlantic. But it's debatable whether this is due to popular pressure, or if drilling in these two areas has lost the interest of oil and gas companies because of falling oil prices. Either way, activists are focusing their demands on the Gulf of Mexico, where robust drilling infrastructure is still in place, and where just last week 90,000 gallons of crude oil leaked into the Gulf near Shell's Brutus drilling platform.
Hearing about spills and explosions and the like is not surprising for us in the Gulf. It's not surprising for us in Houston. We have at least one explosion a week in the facilities surrounding our communities, and so that's an ongoing thing, and it's becoming more and more prevalent in our communities, and it has to stop. And that's why we're standing in solidarity with all the people fighting against drilling in the Gulf and drilling in the Arctic. Because Texas sits in a very important part of the country where all of this fossil fuel extraction and transportation of petroleum products is common, we can play a major role in a just transition in the city of Houston, being the second largest petrochemical industry in the world. We have a responsibility to the environmental justice communities within the city, but also the ones outside of it and the ones in other parts of the country. Yeah, what's happening in D.C., what's happening here in Washington, it gives me hope because I see a lot of people coming together, fighting for the same cause and realizing that if the Gulf is impacted, they're all going to be impacted.
While many within the climate change movement are hopeful, droughts, storms, and wildfires, among other global warming-related events, are on the rise. And most recently, it was announced that the Earth had experienced the hottest April in recorded history. For The Real News, Thomas Hedges, Washington.